It's the most wonderful time of the year. Football's back, baby. I know 2020 has been crazy for all of us, but let's just pray that football can go through smooth and we can have a wonderful season. Now, the highway to the playoffs, let alone the Super Bowl, for most teams start with winning the division. So, what other better way than to break this thing down? Starting with the NFC and breaking down the divisions. Now, I know everybody wants to say the Holy Grail, the hype kings, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Mr. Tom Brady himself. Oh, Tom Brady, Gronkowski, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, the newly acquired Leonard Fournette. Stop. Can I remind you, people that didn't pay attention to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year, that their offensive line was trash when it came to protecting the quarterback? And I don't see too many things that they did in the offseason to upgrade that. Yeah, they did all of the weapons on the outside, none of on the interior. Now, the defense was legit against the run, but they couldn't stop the pass. And in a division like the NFC South, where you have a lot of offensively prone teams in that division, that could be a bit of a problem. Not to mention that Father Time is undefeated, Mr. Tom Brady. To go along with Drew Brees, who is also in that division, Father Time is undefeated. I hadn't seen Drew Brees throw a pass more than 50 yards in a couple of years. Not to mention that New Orleans still has the same potent team and most of the core together, but then they got to compete with teams like the Atlanta Falcons. I know I'm a bit of a homer, but let's face it, the Falcons are still potent. Now they started off the season bad, going 1-7 at first half, but the second half of the season they ended up 6-2, beating the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans and beating the 49ers, the NFC champs, in San Fran near the end of the year. So if they can piece it all together with the additions that they have on defense this year, not to mention hopefully a healthy Todd Gurley and a Treadwell to go along with the weapons that they have, they can play ball and they can compete. Not to mention that the division doesn't have a bottom dweller. And if you did consider it the bottom dweller, it would be the Carolina Panthers, who are definitely not a dumpster fire because they're going over a bit of a turnover, but they're going to be a potent offense as well. Because even though Cam Newton's gone, they have Teddy Bridgewater, still have Mr. Run CMC, DJ Moore. Oh yeah, they picked up Rob Anderson. So they can score points, but the problem with the Panthers is they got a hole in the defense. Luke Kuechly's gone, hole in the middle with the linebacker. I don't think their defense is going to be able to hold up. Losing Ron Rivera as the head coach, a defensive-minded guy. Defense takes steps back. They'll score points. They'll ruin some division dreams for teams like New Orleans, Tampa Bay, or Atlanta. They won't win the division, but it's going to be all a big mixed pot, more or less a three-headed monster with Atlanta, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay. But it's going to be hard to compete. It's going to be a big mix. I still like my Falcons to take it all. Just saying. Anyway, moving to the NFC East. Now, God damn it, Dallas. The Dallas Cowboys, I'm sick of this Cowboy Nation. I don't want to hear a damn thing no more. Last year, the whole thing was gift wrap for you to win the division and make the playoffs. Well, forgive me if this sounds familiar again, Dallas, but it's all the same thing again because you're competing against another mass unit again in the Philadelphia Eagles. Carson Wentz has a soft tissue injury. Alshon Jeffrey hadn't practiced all year because he's coming off foot surgery. Miles Sanders, the running back, has a hamstring injury. Oh, yeah, they lost their left tackle for the season. The defensive line is beat up. What more do you want? You're stockpiled, Dallas. Have a lot of potential. You're complete on both sides of the ball because in your division, who the hell are you competing with other than the mass unit? The Washington football team, who doesn't have a nickname. They have Dwayne Haskins and Terry McLaurin, but other than that, what do you got? Oh yeah, they drafted Chase, who might I said that on draft day I said was overrated because it came from the Big Ten. Yeah, he's overrated. Entered the show this year, but they can't compete. But you got New York Football Giants, right? I mean, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, they got some weapons, but can the weapons stay healthy? But they got issues on the O-line and the D-line that we're not sure about. This is your year, Dallas. Don't screw it up. Just saying. Anyway, over to the NFC North, but there's still really no bottom dwellers. You got the Chicago Bears. Is it money-making Mitch or is it Nick Foles? Mitch Foles. I don't know. Now, both of them will have weapons to work with. Tyreek Cohen, Montgomery, a couple wide receivers, tight end, not to mention a stout defense led by Khalil Mack. But it's all about the quarterback play. Either one that wins the position, can they get them over the hump? Because they still got to compete with even the Detroit Lions that has a Matt Stafford who swear he's about to make a rebound, and everybody out of that camp is saying, "Oh, Matt Stafford looks great, looks great." Now, Matt Stafford had a lot of potential being a first-round draft pick years and years ago, and he has a lot of weapons: Marvin Jones, Galladay, Hawkinson, uh, Kerryon Johnson, all of that. He has a lot to work with on the offense, but can he stay healthy and can he rise to the potential that's always been there for him? But the problem with Detroit is their defense. They were second to last. They were the 31st ranked defense last year, headed by a defensive-minded coach and Matt Patricia, a disciple of Belichick. So they've gotten some pieces that they've gotten from New England. I don't know if it helps, but we'll see. But the defense has to be better, and Matt Stafford has to be better in order to compete, because they still got to go against Green Bay, who I'm going to tell you now, they will not make the playoffs because this is the end of the Aaron Rodgers era, and I'm telling you now. They drafted Jordan Love first round, quarterback. They drafted a quarterback first round. They wouldn't draft this man a wide receiver first round since the man been a star for the Green Bay Packers. I don't get it. Now, Devontae Adams is a stud, but who they don't get to go along with him? Now, Aaron Rodgers, they will compete. Don't get me wrong. I still don't think they make the playoffs, but they'll compete because I think that the majority, the overriding team in that division is the Minnesota Vikings. I think it's their year. They're all in. What makes me believe that they're all in, because they just traded for my man Ngoku from the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a franchise defensive end to go along with the other pieces they got on that defense. Not to mention that they're solid all the way on defense, and on offense, even though they lost Stephen Diggs, Adam Thielen, Kyle Rudolph, Mr. Dalvin Cook himself, it's all going to depend on Kirk Cousins. And I think Kirk Cousins gets it together this year, proves that he belongs in the main stage, gets them over the hump, wins the division, makes a playoff run. I think the Minnesota Vikings win the division, hands down. Just saying. And then you got the NFC West, where, probably best, tough division. I mean, we don't need to talk too much about San Francisco 49ers, other than the fact that they goofballed the Super Bowl. Right, Kyle? You used to that, Kyle. Ain't it right, Kyle Shannon? Yeah, I know. But anyway, they return pretty much everybody. Solid team. They're going to be hell to deal with. But you look at the other parts, the bottom dweller of the league, of that division, is probably the Los Angeles Rams, because the tab is due on that Super Bowl run you had 2 years ago. All that money you spent on all them players a couple years ago, the tab is due. That's why only half of the 22 starters that you had in that Super Bowl run is gone. Yep, they're gone. Whether through trade or whatever, they're gone. Now, you still have some weapons, but not as much as you used to have. And the defense is pretty much a shell of who it was. I don't want to say you're a dumpster fire, Rams. I don't see you competing in that division, because you got San Fran at the top. And in the middle, you got to compete with a young team like the Arizona Cardinals. Mr. Kyler Murray, coming off his rookie year, looking good last year, but he has some new weapons and a new toy in Mr. DeAndre Hopkins, D-Hop. He's got D-Hop, already had weapons at wide receiver, King and Drake at running back. Man, the system that they run is up-tempo. They're going to be a problem for a lot of teams, not to mention that the defense is young and talented. They're going to compete, but then they got to also compete with the most consistent team in the NFL, the Seattle Seahawks, with Mr. Russell, last name Wilson. I mean, let's face it, since Wilson was drafted in 2012, they made the playoffs every year except once in 2017. 2 Super Bowl runs, winning one, losing one, 3 division titles. They're consistent as hell. And Mr. Russell Wilson has weapons. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. And now they're just talking about signing Josh Gordon again, Chris Carson. They have weapons. But my problem is the defense. Yeah, they got Jamal Adams from the Jets. They got a decent secondary, but if your secondary can be good all they want, but if you can't get to the quarterback, it's all for nothing. And they have no pass rush. So that's going to be a bit of a problem for Seattle. If you can't get to the quarterback, then it's all for nothing. You can't put no pressure on the quarterback. Secondary going to die out there. So Looks like San Francisco treat again. I don't know.